Hey, good afternoon. I just wanted to make a quick video and talk about the Doom Diver Catapult. It appears there's a lot of confusion about how this rule is supposed to work, and I wanted to weigh in. To me, I think it's pretty obvious what they're intending for it to be and for what it's supposed to be. So let's dive right in. But first, of course, thanks to all my patrons, Baron of Dice for supporting the channel, and Barian. If you're interested in supporting the channel, the best way to do it is through Patreon. So let's look. So here's the Doom Diver Catapult. Range 24 inches, 4 attacks, 4 to hit, 3s to wound, 3 rend, and 3 damage. So the rend part of this catapult is ridiculous and is the part that is causing all of the confusion. It has some melee attacks, but they're not interesting. It doesn't matter. Okay, so here's the rule that people are confused about, or that people are, I shouldn't say confused about. People are debating what the actual rule is supposed to be. So first of all, it's a once per turn army. So if you're running multiple Doom Diver catapults, you can only use this on one catapult. You can't use it on multiple. Effect: you can re-roll hit rolls for this unit's shooting attacks this turn, but for each hit roll that is re-rolled, subtract 1 from the rend characteristic of this unit's Doom Diver for the rest of the turn. So here's what some different people are saying. They're saying that if you re-roll one of the dice, that only that die is affected by the rend. And the reason that people are making this claim is because if you do the slow roll method of rolling dice, which is instead of rolling all of the dice, you're rolling them one at a time, that sort of makes each of those individual rolls sort of separate and different somehow. But for me, the way that this is obviously intended to be is through a couple of very important keywords in the way that this is worded. So it says you can re-roll hit rolls for this unit's shooting attacks this turn. Okay, you can re-roll hit rolls for this unit's shooting attacks this turn. For each hit roll that is re-rolled, subtract 1 from the rend characteristic of this unit's Doom Diver for the rest of the turn. So it says subtract 1 from the rend characteristic of this unit's Doom Diver, which just means that up here in the rend column, for every single die that I choose to re-roll, for each hit roll that is re-rolled, which in my reading is every single die that is re-rolled, you have to reduce the rend characteristic of the entire profile by 1. So it doesn't matter if you are re-rolling, if you're re-rolling 1 die, or if you're re-rolling 2 dice, or if you're re-rolling 3 dice, every single die that you re-roll is going to reduce the rend of the entire profile by 1. And I can't imagine that it's any other way. I can't imagine that GW is like, yeah, what we want players to do is to like sort their dice into little piles and be like, well, this one has 2 rend, and this one has 3 rend, and this one has no rend. I can't imagine that, yeah, that it's going to be any other way. So if I was you, and if I was a TO, this is how I would rule it. This is what I would say. I would say roll your 4 attacks, and then decide if you're going to use the ability or not, because it's once per turn army. So if you get to roll before you get to see, but before you get to determine if you're going to use the ability or not, right? Because it just says you can use it in any shooting phase. So I don't see why you wouldn't be able to do that. It would be strange to me if you had to decide before you rolled if you were going to re-roll, if you were going to use this ability. So you get to roll all 4 of your dice, and then you get to say, hey, I'm going to use this ability, and I'm going to choose 2 of the dice to re-roll, which means the rend characteristic of Doom Diver is now going down by 2, 1 per die. And then you re-roll those 2 dice, and that's it, the end. And then you go to your wound rolls and then to the save rolls. Yep, because if you re-roll all 4, right, if all of them are misses, let's say that you roll 3 or 4 1s, you can pick up all of them and roll them again, which would bring the rend to 0. I guess the idea is that it's the goblins flying through the air, like losing momentum but steering their wings, and so they're going to land on target, but the amount of impact that they're going to be able to do is significantly less, as opposed to if they were on target and were able to dive bomb head on into the enemy. Anyway, that's my take. Let me know what you think, but if you don't, like, subscribe. Wow.